You have to have a real precise picture of where the world is really going, and then check out, are you going there as well? And the next question is, who do you want to be in that world, you know, of the AHK? Who do you want to be? You have to check that out. You have to have a very clear picture about it. If you're uncertain, you won't move. So build a vision for yourself. Who do you want to be? And last but not least, how do we get there? That's not so easy. Being a corporate guy for a long, long time, I know, get a board moving into the future. Not talking about return on invest, but you know, value creating for the customers. It's a long story to get them convinced. So, next slide, please. So what has Airbus 3D printing, as you can see here on the slide? It's a 3D print made out of organic forms, which reduces the weight in an Airbus by quite a lot of percentage. And, next slide. You might know this company. A totally business strategy change from BP, British Petrol, to, who knows that? What's the claim of BP now? It was British Petrol before. It's beyond petrol. It's beyond petrol. They focused on, okay, we're not anymore about petrol and not about British. It's quite a change, you know. It's about beyond petrol. So what do these guys have to do with, the next slide please, the Alibaba Hammer Store to do? Who knows Alibaba? Just hands up. Alibaba? Okay. Who knows the Hammer stores? Few. Okay, this is the step from Alibaba being a virtual company into the real world. And now they are building up 30 stores in Beijing. They have already 5, and now they're building up 30 stores in Beijing. And what they do there is to convert all their virtual knowledge into the real world by the reach of each customer by 3 miles. That's the claim they have. In 3 miles, you should be able to reach a Hammer store in Beijing. And what has that all to do with the next slide? The Swiss Post, where are the Swiss guys now? The Swiss necks? Gone, so obviously. So the Swiss Post to do, because what they introduced was, you see on the bottom line Hermann and the former CEO of the Swiss Post. You must imagine, the Swiss Post is one of the most conservative companies you can think in the world, you know, making stamps on a letter and then send them off. Now, they came here and they now decided to have an autonomous bus service in the middle of Sion running. They've got delivery drones running on the Lake Lugano for medical services, and they've got in Zurich running delivery robots bringing your packages up to your home. And what's the last slide? Next slide, please. And some innovative cars and crazy media productions all in common. Now you see there the Red Bull Air Race. You see the beautiful BMW i8. You see the Rolls-Royce Dawn. And last but not least, some crazy guy jumping out from the Eiger North face, making the first 3D video in 2011 in Switzerland. So what has all these all in common? Next slide. They expanded the possible with us. With us, the ABC EDG group. We are situated in Palo Alto, USA, now for 30 years right in the ecosystem of the Silicon Valley. We are now connected to this beautiful BTC city with Mark and Blasch. We are in St. Gallen, right at the heart of teaching in Switzerland. We are in Nuremberg, which is my place where I live, and Munich, and maybe next in Bangalore, India, see what happens being in nomad of innovation. Next slide, please. So why do we do all that? Now, you see Kurt Carlson there. Kurt Carlson is one in our network. Kurt Carlson was the CEO of the SRE. You might know SRE. The SRE company was the company who built actually Siri. Hello, Siri. Can you help me, Siri? They were developing Siri. And Kurt Carlson then sold Siri for some money to another guy. There's one little more thing, this guy. First, last slide, please. Last slide. Can you please stay with Kurt Carlson for a moment? Thanks. Go back, Kurt. I want Kurt. Yes, that's the one. Because that's a very interesting question. Why should we change? Why should we go into this innovation stuff? Why should we go into the land of the unknown? Because in exponential times, if you improve your performance incrementally, so step by step, you fall behind exponentially. You lose out. You're gone. I was trained in the automotive companies by Kaizen, TQM, Kanban, all that. You improve step by step. That was good for us for a while. But it's not good for the future because we're going to lose out exponentially. Next slide. So here are some signals which are just gathered the last couple of days. You see on the bottom line the R loop, which is a hyperloop. Who knows the hyperloop here in the room? Great. So this is a perfect idea of how to get things done. There's this crazy guy called Elon Musk, got an idea and says, well, how about getting people into a tube and send them through the world on high speed? This is basically what he put on paper. And then he invited the whole community of the whole world to bring inventions together to get this thing done. Now this picture here is from R-Loop. R-Loop is the engineering team who was winning the engineering contest last year in San Francisco for the Hyperloop. And these R-Loop guys, this is an interesting disruption, by the way, being only 25 minutes to Chennai by a Hyperloop. The interesting thing about these R-Loop guys is the head of it, Tom Lambert, one of our network, he's a NASA engineer by trade. And that's what he's doing all day long. And besides that, because he's interested and keen in new technology, he decided to start R-Loop. Now there were 180 engineers working all over the world together, putting this R-Loop sledge together, and they only met 7 days before the actual competition. So there were 180 engineers working day by day, besides their normal jobs, spread all over the world, and meeting 7 days before the contest started, and they were the winning team by putting that stuff together. So this is the disruption we're facing. We're not talking anymore about places where we work together. We're talking about the world we are working together. This is disruption. Next slide here, you might recall these pictures. There's this guy called Mark Zuckerberg, and the other side, the guy from the Senate. Now what you see here is, while the court was done with Mark Zuckerberg, he was recorded the whole time. Face recognition, emotion recognition. So this is actually the picture which was taken when he was asked, would you like, Mr. Zuckerberg, that the rest of the world knows in which hotel you sleep tonight? That was the question he was taken. And he, of course, was looking very angry and surprised. And then he answered, oh, no, sir, I wouldn't think so. But it was covered by facial emotion recognition. So this is here. This is technology which is available. Now just imagine. I would have now here a panel and would see all your faces right here. And I would see all your emotional reaction on my talk. Like seeing someone smiling, and see, oh, he's happy. Or someone being, surprised, what's he talking about? Someone who might be disgusted, oh no, not one again of these German guys talking things. Just imagine that. You could see that on a panel. And this is not the future, it's here. In China, they already do that. In the schools. They implemented this system in schools there. So the teachers get an immediate reaction of, does the student listen? Is he or she engaged? Do I talk about the right things? Am I too long? Am I too boring? It's directly reflected to the speakers and the teachers. Now, another signal on this curve, of this exponential curve, is actually this Land Rover you see here. And I came across Zamji last week. I was on the AI conference which took place on Thursday, Friday last week. And there was Zamji, and Zamji is going to be here tomorrow as well. Maybe he's already in the room. He's a guy from Bhopal. And what did he do? Well, he tackled the most incredible question. Developing an autonomous driving car for the streets of India. For the streets of Bangalore. And I was experiencing the last week the traffic here in Bangalore. And I'm coming from, Germany or even Switzerland, where the cars are driving on the right side of the road and trying to keep pace and trying to be, and then facing, the challenges of Bangalore traffic. I would never dare to drive here. But if Zamji provides me a service of an autonomous car who can drive through that situation, yeah, take it. And he did that in his garage, virtually in his garage. And he's using cameras off the shelf. It's not, high-tech, it's off-the-shelf technology he uses to build an autonomous car. That should make us corporates really shake. And last but not least, there's Sophia. You see Sophia there? She's a humanized, or it is a humanized robot. Now this is interesting anyhow. Having a humanized robot who uses NLP, natural language processing, answering the right questions, and bringing you forward into your knowledge. So this is one disruption. The real disruption for me is she's got the official citizenship of Saudi Arabia. The official citizenship of Saudi Arabia. So there's an AI robot who's a citizen. This is a signal, guys. There's something going on in this world. And we should really be aware of what's going on there. We should really try to think about, living in your city, being a citizen, and having Sophia being a citizen in your city. Or I saw some government guys here in the back. So what does that mean if there's a citizen called Sophia and it's a human robot? So what do we have to do as corporate guys, as companies, as cities, as developers? We have to manage the three curves. The analog curve, buying things, getting things, eating, and going to the washroom. We have to check out the digital business, being mobile, being on demand, being everywhere, available, social, and the hyper-digital wave about this AI stuff, IoT, and what you name it. We all have to manage all three. If we only focus on one, as you said, smart is not only the high-tech stuff, it is as well about the sewage, yes. But at the same time, you have to manage what's happening in the hyper-digital world. And you have to be clear, what role are you playing in that world? Next one. Some companies do. You might have heard about this company called Ford. Well, Ford did the turnaround last year, and they came back again into good business. And even though they were coming back into good business, they sacked the CEO. They fired him. Not because Trump was on the board, but, Now, they sacked the CEO of Ford. and got another guy in. So 1 year later, next slide please, Ford stops selling all their cars besides the Mustang and the Focus Active in the States. They stopped selling. Just imagine this car company, you know, this real core car company stopped selling all the other cars besides the Mustang and the Ford Focus Active in the States. So why do they do that? Because, that's it. Because they want to build a winning portfolio. They decided where they want to go. They want to make a full commitment to the new motors. They want to have a viable and profitable autonomous technology. And last but not least, they are creating and scaling a mobility platform. So mobility as a service. Stop selling cars, develop services. Next slide. So this is a comparison of market validation between 2008 and 2018. Down there you see all these PetroChina, Gazprom, ExxonMobil, China Mobile, General Electric, Petrobras. They were the leaders in 2008. Now 10 years later, not only the validation, the market doubled, but they were all gone. You see now all these platform businesses, Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, Facebook, Alibaba, Tencent, as a complete revolution. And we're living in exponential times, so they are worried now. Because they done the job, they disrupted. Now they are facing the next disruption. And maybe the next disruption might happen here from Bangalore. Why not? Just imagine if we could all connect, bring together all our thoughts and ideas to disrupt them. Why not? Next slide. So that's what we do as EDG and ABC. We check around what are the developments around us, where is the world going to be, whether we go there or not. Who do we want to be there in that world, and how do we get there? And we do that together with the companies, the corporates. We do that with the top management. No, that was the right slide, the blue one. We do that together with the top management. We take them to the Silicon Valley, do a deep dive there for 5, 6, 7 days, and really challenge. It's not like a tourist guide. No, please stay with the blue one. It's not a tourist tour. It's not a school class tour or anything like that. No, it's hard work. We start right in the middle of the morning, and then you get tasks. You deep dive into our network. We've there for 30 years. You've got tasks to find out your own network. You build up your own network. We come together at midday. Then we lead you to some shops or some walks where you might start to pitch. And actually, you might go to Starbucks there, right opposite of the Apple store. And you might, there's a lady, please talk to her. And you sit down and you talk to this lady and you pitch up there, and suddenly it turns out she is the mother-in-law of a guy called Sergey Brin. You might know Sergey Brin. That's one of these two Google guys. So she sits there in a Starbucks and waits for you to pitch and see what happens. Or we go with you onto the Infinite Drive of Apple and walk around there and start to talk there. Or you go with us to Google, or all the others, and to loads and loads and loads of startups. We go over to Stanford to go right there into their system. We go over to Berkeley, or down to the harbor where IDEO is. IDEOs were the guys who developed the first mouse. So that's what we do for 1 week. And then we develop together a blueprint of your story. And then we implement that and get the stuff going. And the people who worked with us are on this slide over there. So I hope I can take you. We can go together on this incredible journey of innovation together. Not being a nomad alone, but maybe a whole tribe of nomads.